Teresa, welcome to ID Fitness Podcast.
Yay!
I'm so excited for you to be here because talk about taxes, your journey, cancer. We'll get into all that stuff.
Yeah.
But first, let's just talk the impacts of your experience here at ID Fitness.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, they ask tons of questions are like, what's it like? What do we do? I know what we do and I explain what we do, but sometimes it's hard for me to tell the audience of what they want from somebody who actually came in and did what we put together. Okay. So in general, how would you describe your journey as you walk through the door?
Well, to be honest, I have been to a lot of fitness centers, a lot of them. This weight journey of mine has been going on a long time. So in comparison to all of the centers that I've been to, it's different for me to have that one-on-one experience. And not only to have that one-on-one experience, to me being in this fitness center, it differs from the other one because it feels spiritual for me. I come and I get a spiritual experience here. I feel that not only my one-on-one training experience with my trainer, I really feel the compassion that not only does he care about my health and my way he cares about me as a person, and the atmosphere here feels so light that even when I'm here by myself, I feel enlightened that there's a spiritual feeling. So, like I said, I have been to several other fitness center, and no knock to them. I did accomplish some things there, but I did not feel that spiritual feeling, and I feel that here. So that's the difference for me. So that's what encourages me to want to come, because I feel that even the days I don't want to come, it's times that I've been just this past weekend, didn't really feel motivated, and I kind of sat out in my car. And then I prayed about it, then got out of my car. And then even when I came in, somebody else was here that encouraged me. And that was spiritual. I took that as a spiritual moment. And I've never gotten that before. So that's what differs for me.
And what's crazy that you said that. Deborah was saying that too. She was like, just the way you guys talk to your clients and like God is just moving. So it's been really cool to see.
What comes from the heart reaches the heart. And that's important to me.
I like that.
Yes.
Say that again.
What comes from the heart reaches the heart. Yes.
If you were to explain like the process of you coming in here, what were some of the things before you got here you were concerned about? Like, I don't know what to expect here. Like,
yes.
What was some of your preconceptions?
I had a lot of preconceptions because I put it off so many times. Being one of the coaches is a client of mine for his tax clients, and he knew about my health issues, and he kept encouraging me and talking about the services. And I put it off so many times, and some of my concerns was just being in a fitness center itself and not just want to be around a lot of people. Just me being challenged about not thinking I was capable of doing it. But knowing I needed that accountability, but just wasn't ready for that. And so, but when I finally made the decision, the first thing that God gave to me was to reach back out to him, because he was consistent with, saying, hey, I think if this is the place for you, I'm here for you. And I will definitely encourage you with all the things that you have reservations about. And he was. And just, with working out a time for me if I had the reservations about being here with other people, because not wanting people to see my challenges about the things that I felt like I couldn't do. And so he worked out a time that I didn't have to deal with it. So that was a go for me. And then also just to give me that individual time that I needed. I didn't want to be around other people. I wanted my own time to do. And that was what the key thing for me. I didn't want to be in an open space with other people. I wanted just to have my own time. And I like that convenience of having it. Yeah. So that was a big thing for me too. And I had, talked to other people, and that's a thing too for them. They like, well, I want a trainer, but I just want to have that individual time for myself. And that's what stood out for me to say, hey, let me move forward with that. If he can work with me on that, I think that's a go for me.
And so how would you explain like that individual time for people who are kind of confused on what that means?
Well, a lot of people think, well, yeah, it's my individual time. I'm going in the gym, but it's still other people there. I'm still, that individual time could be other people there, and they could stop like, hey, let me work with this person. Hey, okay, I'm coming back over here with you. But that's not what the individual time is. The individual time, I have my own plan and my own plan that he's assisting me to make sure I'm carrying through my own plan. Right there, encouraging me if I have questions. And then even after I'm leaving the gym, he still is following through with me. So it's not just my own time in that gym, it's own time individual. It's like individual counseling, because when you have a counselor, that counselor follows through even with you're not there in the office. And that's how the individual coaching is here. It's not just that, okay, I'm coming to the gym, that's the only time he's dealing with me. Even times that I didn't show up, or even times I'm not here, he still is reaching out to me. So it's not like he, after that time allotted, he's through with me. No, he still has his hands on me. So that really makes me know that he really cares about what I'm going through.
It's interesting because we had multiple clients say that over the past when they give us reviews about individual time. And I was like, for me as an owner, I was like kind of struggling, like, what does that even mean? And they're describing it just as you are. It's not so much a specific time period.
Right.
There's a program specifically designed for you, and that took time outside the gym.
Yes, and to monitor, to make sure that if it's time to see if that individual plan is not working for me, okay, let's adjust it. What do we need to do different? Is this something how he sat down with me? It's like, okay, well, maybe we need to adjust food for you. Let's talk about this. If maybe we need to adjust this workout program. So let's talk about it. So that he took out the individual time. Let's make some adjustments if adjustments are needed. It's not just like, hey, I'm looking on the floor watching you exercise. No, it's a period of that time that we're talking, he's counseling me, where he's evaluating to make sure if this is working for me. If it's not, okay, let's make some adjustments. So that's my individual time. It's not just I'm standing over you watching you exercise time. So that's the good thing about it.
What's really encouraging too is multiple members have said that too, is like we just have really encouraging members here. And it's like like you said, you attract what you put out.
Yes, exactly.
And so we have really cool members in here that encourage people.
Yes, and I follow a lot of different coaches on Facebook, social media, and there are a lot of things they talk about is consistency and tracking and keeping up, and that's how you see results. And I felt really good to know that that's what I'm getting here, because when one of the coaches say, if you're not keep tracking your information, if you're not consistent, and I said, well, that gives me the indication I'm at the right place, because I see that's what I'm getting. He's like, you got to track and keep up with things. And when at home and I'm trying to work out on my own, I can go back into the app and see what Ben has outlined for me. And those exercises are there. It's even talking about the nutrition things and talk about the things that we talk about. So if things that I've forgotten about, I still can go back and see what he's outlined and what we've talked about, because it's there. The support is still there. So I still have those resources available that I can fall back on and look at.
Now, explain to people, because it's hard for me. Explain to people the app process, because a lot of people don't know we even have an app. They come in here like, oh, that you do that? Like, it's not just the gym?
Right. Well, that was one of the first things when we sit down in the planning process, that everything that we developed that was going to be my plan, he outlined it in the app. So the exercise that we've said, this is what we're going to work on, even as we adjusted, he adjusted, put that information, the notes in the app. So the weeks that I was sick and I could not work out in the gym or couldn't come out of the gym, I opened the app. I could go back and pull it up and say, hey, I could work on these at home. Even the times that I didn't come, he loaded up an app and say, hey, how are you doing today? I didn't see you. And, to put notes in and talk about things in the app. And that is just a go for me, because I still have that support there, because the notification is we carry our phones everywhere we go. My phone is by my head in my bed, and so that notification to ping that, so I'm still carrying the gym everywhere, and so I still have that support even if I travel out of town. I'm in a hotel that has a workout room, I can open that app and still, these are the things I still should be working on. These are the things, exercises that I work on while I'm here. So the support is still 24/7, just like the gym is. So it's good to have that support.
And so when you have these exercises through the app, You have videos to go with them, right?
The videos show the examples, because one day I forgot, like, hey, how many pounds of weights should I be lifting? I opened the video. It has right there, this is the number of pounds of weight you'll be lifting. This is the formation. And it gives an example of everything I should be doing. It's right there. Only thing, I open the app, I look at the YouTube videos, and it gives me an example of everything. So there's no questions there. And so that helps me. And even just last night, I did it at home because I have those weights there, and I can still do it at home.
And what's cool about you saying about tracking data, and we always have something to refer back. I was talking to a client not too long ago, and they just wanted to quit. And they were just like, I've only done 50% of my workout. It's just not really worth the investment. And, just listening. And I was like, okay, well, what did you do last year? Like, how many workouts did you do last year? Because I didn't work with this last year. They're like, well, I did none. It's like, okay, well, you did 100 workouts this year. So I think you're confusing perfection with progress.
Yes.
And so I think it goes back to your point, is like, you have the data to look back to see what's working, what's not working. And if a client does feel like they're not making any progress, it's like, well, let's compare the last year.
Yeah, and it happens all the time, because just like I said, this past weekend, I felt discouraged, because of course that scale, who's our enemy, I felt like it wasn't moving, and I was calling my son, and he didn't answer, and he called back. He said, "Mama, you okay?" I said, "I'm okay now." And he said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I put on a song, an old blues song that's called No Pain, No Gain." Yeah. And I listened to the song, and I said, "I'm okay now." I said, "I didn't want to go to the gym, but I'm here. I went in. I feel better." I said, because I thought about last year when I wasn't doing anything. Now I am coming to the gym. Now I am encouraging myself. I'm praying myself out of the bed, and I'm moving, and I'm doing better than I was before. That's progress.
Yeah.
That's progress.
Yep.
It's because you're moving more than you were doing before. It's progress. I think sometimes that we're our own worst enemy, and sometimes it's hard when you don't have people in your corner encouraging you. But sometimes we have to realize we have to encourage ourselves. So,
you talked about the positives. What are some of the things that you think that you see more potential that we could do here, or some things that we feel like that we could benefit more if we did?
One of the things I shared with Ben, that y'all are Oxford's best kept secret. I feel that so many people could benefit from a place like this. I just think that if we need to find a way to share it more. I think what you're doing now with your social media, I think that just getting the word out, maybe being in more community programs and activities so people can benefit from it, because I feel like it's a good place. It is a good place for people that really can benefit from this type of services, because it is a good place. And I always refer to it as best kept secret. Just today, I was on the social media Facebook page, and I started sharing it to people that I know, and just started inviting them to the page. Because as I was looking through different things that I saw, even you showing the weightlifting, my son lives in Cleveland, Mississippi, but he goes to the gym there. I wanted him to know the correct techniques on working out. My niece lives in South Haven, and we're both on this weight journey together. I saw on the page being talked about protein. I saw talking about the correct carbs, how much we should be in, the ratio that you came up with, how much protein and carbs and things we should be taking in. So I wanted to share that information, because they need this, we need this, and I didn't know. So I started inviting people to the page. So I feel like that getting this information out to community and doing different community activities so people can know about this facility. And because there's a lot of people, elderly, young people, communities that are not fortunate enough to know of places like this can get the information. Yeah,
and I like that point too. We do need to be more involved with the community, just for us to be out there so they can see what we do.
Yes.
And I was thinking about doing something with the community of just like learning how to pick up things off the ground.
Yes.
And then just inviting people to event to come here and have food.
And just to share, because a lot of things that you share is good nuggets people could benefit, because I didn't know how to do that ratio. I kept trying to figure out, well, how much protein should I be getting in? And soon as you gave that ratio, I said 0.7 times my goal. I just start figuring it out. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That type of information people need to know. And being involved with community activities, that's how people will find out about you, because you tuck back here, but you have a good place and you have a good heart, and people are going to feel that. And so people need to know about you.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's one thing we're really pushing hard to do, and we're noticing that is our weakness point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have a good product now,
Yes.
we have good retention, and so it's like, okay, it's always, I mean, this as a business, it's like,
Yes.
once you fix one, then you got to fix the other one.
Oh, it's going to come. It's going to come, because, again, as I said earlier, the spirit is in here, and it's going to come. It's because you're starting off on good ground. So it's going to come. It's going to come.
Let's dive into more of your background.
Okay.
Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And just tell me like a life story, how you ended up here. And you can stop at any stops that you feel like.
Well, I'm originally from Oxford. I've been here my entire life.
Wow.
Yes.
You're a local.
I'm a local.
A
true local. Sometimes it's good, sometimes bad, because everybody know everything. But I was born here in Oxford. I've been here. I went to Ole Miss, graduated from there. And like everybody else, once you graduate from college, you think once you get that degree, you off to this big corporate job. My undergraduate degree is in business, and I also have an MBA. Once I graduated from college, I got pregnant my sophomore year of college. And I graduated. I set out after my sophomore year for a couple of years, but I went back. I decided to go back when my sons were 2 and 4. I decided to go back and finish, but I worked for Ole Miss for a little while, and I decided, I was like, I'm going back to school. Yeah. I'm going to go back. I'm going to complete my degree. I need to be a role model to my children that education is important. So I went back to school while they were 2 and 4.
Holy cow.
And decided to finish. Once I graduated, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to find this big job in the corporate world. That did not happen. I actually was working at Subway with a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
Because I had to feed my family. I was married with 2 children. And it was an ad for a tax preparer. I had never did taxes in my life. But what I did know how to do, it was a job interview. So I went and interviewed for the job. And he hired me. The owner of the business hired me, and actually across the street from here. And I start working, but taxes is seasonal, so it doesn't provide a life for you, the whole year. But I continued to do that. The owner, a year later, he's like, hey, my wife and I, we're moving. She was a professor on campus. And he said, I was just doing this as just a little side hustle, and we got to move. He's like, well, can you manage the business? And I was like, no, this is seasonal. I got to find something full time. He's like, well, you've basically been doing it. You can still do it and work another job. I said, yeah, I probably could. He said, okay, and I'll come back each year and help you. I'll fly back. And he did. He did that for a couple of years. So it worked. And I found a full-time job and working in the nonprofit industry, and still, with housing and child abuse prevention, just did a lot of nonprofit things. And 2 years later, he was like, hey, I got another job, but I can't keep doing taxes. They won't let me own this business still. Oh, wow. He said, how about you own it? And I was like, what? I was like, yeah. He's like, Teresa, you've been doing it all along. And I was like, well, because I had a staff. I said, well, let me ask some of the girls here where they go in ownership with me, and I probably would do it. And they like, no. No, we're not owning a business. We'll continue to work for you, but we will not. I was like, come on, we'll have a business. Let's do this. They was like, no. And so I told them, I said, okay, I'll do it. I said, nobody in my family has never owned a business, and I'll do it. And he said, okay. He said, first couple of years, I'd let you, you could just pay me a percentage till you buy me completely out. And I did it. But I never told anybody that I was the owner of the business. So it has been now, this is 2024. I did that in 2009.
Oh, wow.
But I never told anybody. And being a business owner, you could start out some years good, some years bad. And, but God made a way. My landlord, he would just tell me, You just pay me when you make the money.
Yeah.
I was like, Mr. Jones, he was like, you're such a good person. You're helping people in the community. You just, whenever you make it, you just give it to me. And I said, okay. And I told the previous owner, I was like, I'm not making nearly the money that you made when you was here. And he was like, well, let me look at your finances. He said, Teresa, you're giving away the business. You're just helping people. You're just doing it. He said, and why haven't you told anybody you're the owner? I was like, I don't know. I just haven't. He's like, I'm sending the paper over. And that was in 2019. And he said, I said, you going to send the paper? He said, I'm sending the paper over because somebody needs to know that you were a single parent. You came here and worked this business. You have hired students. You have senior citizens to work for you. You do so much for people in the community. You just have given back, and you have been doing this for almost 20 years on your own. And the paper came over and did a article on me and just said, hey, this person graduated from Ole Miss and has done so much for the community, and she's been doing this. And I just always have done it. I've been doing it forever. It's, to me, it's a ministry.
Yeah.
More of a job. I've always worked a full-time job doing it. I got diagnosed in cancer in 2020. And I was like, what am I going to do with my clients? What am I going to do? My family was like, hey, we'll work it out, because my treatment was in Memphis. And because my doctor said, you're not going to be able, they can't treat you there. The type of cancer, which was Ewing sarcoma, it was no way they could treat me here. I had to move to Memphis. And I was like, but I have a business. And my family's like, well, we will help you. So they would my clients never knew. They would bring people tax returns, and I would be doing taxes for my chemo bed, because it would pushes me to keep trying to just keep going on and on. And so when I finally made it back after a year of treatment, and people came in the office and see this bald-headed person sitting up there, and my family had put a window up where people couldn't get near me because COVID was live and well then. And people said, hey, is Teresa in? And I said, what's left of her? They was like, oh my God, Miss Teresa, that's you. I said, yeah, it's me. And they was like, what? I said, I'm in remission for cancer. They was like, well, you didn't tell us. Oh my God, you had cancer. You were still doing our taxes. I was like, yeah. They was like, man, you are. And so I'm still here. But my landlord died.
Wow.
A year after I got back from being in remission. And I was like, okay, what am I to do? Because his family decided to sell the building. And I said, well, what am I to do now? And, I was like, God, what do I do? What's next for me? And I said, well, I'm just going to go home and work from home. And I said, am I going to lose my clients? How are they going to feel about me transitioning my business? And it was just clear as day. I said, I'm going to keep the business. And CJ, it was just, my business increased.
Wow.
And my clients, God showed me just clear, you continue to work your business the way you work your business, and the people, because you are producing a good product and your services are awesome, people are not going to leave you. More people came.
Wow. I
had a client that called me. She said, hey, I was at the eye doctor, and I was telling people I needed a new tax preparer, and they throw me your name. Would you do my tax? I was like, yes, ma'am, I'll come to your house. She's like, you will? I said, yes. And another person called me, and she was like, I heard about you. I said, ma'am, I'll come to your house. And she's like, are you serious? She was like, I said, yeah. She's like, you are God's, and I'm never leaving you. So my business increased. I changed the dynamics of my services. I'm more mobile. I will go to people. The people email me. It's just worked out. Yeah. And because the type of clients that I have, they trust me, and I've been consistent, and they've been with me the 20-something years I've been in business. So I've just been that local person. So.
That is remarkable, because it's like, it kind of goes back to what we're pushing here, is having a relationship with your clients and and carrying them more outside of tax.
Yes. And that's how it's been when they have issues with different things other than tax. I'm that person, and I've shown them that I care more about and I've given them advice other than just tax. When they have issues with how to fill out forms, they call me. I've assisted them with that. If I give them advice when I see things that they're not doing that they should be doing correctly, or how to organize things, or even issues with they have children that need financial aid information filled out, they have things with insurance, different things. I have assisted them with that, and they know those are services that just not that your normal tax preparer would do, that I've cared about them more than just that. And they know that that's a person they want to. I just had a person who started a farm, and he called me to talk to me. He said, Miss Teresa, I just love you. And for all these years that you've been, and he said, even in the midst of everything you went through, you still have been there for us. And we totally appreciate that. Yeah. And I've had clients that have moved to different states. I'm still their girl.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Florida, Texas, I'm still the person that I'm still taking care of them. And so it makes me feel good. And I tell every job that I get, hey, I have a tax business and I'm not going to let it go. These people are faithful to me, and I am faithful to them. And I'm going to be there for them. I said, it doesn't pay my bills, but it's a ministry. And I feel that because God has kept me here for a reason, I'm loyal to that.
Yeah.
So I'm loyal. He's been too good to me, so I have to give back in some capacity.
Now, you said you wanted to potentially do some stuff in the Delta. Yes. You mentioned. Talk a little bit about that. What inspired you? Where
I have worked, and it's so funny you brought that up. My son lives there, and I have been in the Delta, and I see that the community still is lacking as far as employment and resources. And it's just that I feel that whatever that I can give to the community can give back. I always try to get there in some capacity to do that. I was just sharing with my son this morning about employment and people not having jobs there, people not having resources, and it's so much that they need. And we think that from back in the day, it was so bad. It's still bad. It's still, you have farmers that they are still farming, but they're not getting paid the crop that they need. And it's still money that's out there, but they don't even have the knowledge to try to go out and apply to even get the money. Oh, wow. And then there's jobs that they don't have, a lot of jobs that they don't have there. And so it's just have a lot, they don't have the resources. So I try to go there in any capacity, get involved with different communities to help people, like if they try to apply for loans for small businesses, if they need help with trying to find jobs, I try to help people with finding jobs. So any capacities, even with the military communities, we have soldiers that have gone out and served, and they come back, they don't have jobs, even their spouses. So they need help. We have a big military community there because a lot of people there, because they don't have jobs, they get in the Guard. But even then, they don't have jobs. Our military community don't have jobs, so they need help with finding jobs. So the Delta still needs help. They do.
I go to Clarksdale. I used to go to Clarksdale a lot to ride dirt bikes, and it's a sad town.
It is. It is. And I've had soldiers that tell me, Miss Teresa, if I didn't get in the military, if I stayed in Clarksdale, I'd be in jail. Because they have like gang populations, a lot of crime there. So a lot of them have to, they deal with a lot. They do.
It seems like the extremes are high. So like the rich are rich there, the poor are poor.
Yes.
Like there's no middle ground.
There's no middle ground. It is not. You're so right. It's not, and it's so sad. So I remember years ago, I used to mentor. I had a group it was called Grandparents Raising Grandchildren. My grandmother and my father raised me. So I facilitated. I had a pastor that called me from Clarksdale. He was like, I have a lot of grandmothers here that are raising their grandchildren, and I need some help. And so I facilitated this group called Grandparents Raising Grandchildren, just to give the grandmothers some help about different resources to help them, because they didn't really know how to help their they didn't know about what resources teenagers need. And the teenagers and the young kids needed a safe space just to talk about what they were dealing with, because my grandmother raised me. And so they needed some information on what resources are out there for the young people, because they had moms that just weren't involved in their children's lives. So it's a lot that's going on in adults. A lot.
It's really interesting. The more I dive into just the histories, like once the family dynamic starts to disintegrate, it's not good.
It's not
for
good.
anyone.
It is not good. My son was at the job fair yesterday. He said that it was the high school brought a lot of young people to that job fair. He was like, Mama, it was really good to see that. He said to let the young people get the experience on how to talk to employers, to be able to try to apply for some jobs, to let them start at a young age to get that experience. And that it was in Greenville, Mississippi. I said, wow, I wish I was there because I like to see that, to try to help them start conversating and seeing what's out there, what opportunities they possibly have, because sometimes they're not getting that in their homes. So if they once they start getting that exposure at a young age, that would help them, because a lot of times they don't get that in their homes. So they need to start getting exposed to that at a young age.
And what's crazy is just like, I have 2 nephews, and one of my nephew, he comes down. We try to get him to come down every summer, and he was here this summer. And kids really want the best relationships possible with their parents.
And structure is good. And, like what you said, sometimes it's not a middle ground, because sometimes even with me trying to do my health journey, sometimes you have a team of people that's for you, and sometimes you have a team of people that are totally against you. Yeah. You could be trying to do everything right to try to do better in life, but there's always a team of people that's going to be not wanting you to do right because they're not doing right in their lives. And that is so hard for young people. Yeah. It's hard when you're trying to do better, but you got a group of people that's rooting against you because they have not, succeeded in their lives. And that is so hard.
And what's crazy too is I've noticed, like, entrepreneurs like us, we never look down at a person who's starting a business because we understand how hard it is.
Yes.
But the critics are the people who've never started a business and pull you down to where they're at.
It's so hard. See, I see that all the time, and that was one of the reasons why I gatekept. I didn't share that I was a business owner, because I knew that would happen, and I didn't want to share it. I didn't want people to know because I knew they weren't going to be supportive.
And it's so interesting you said that, because that's one of the reasons why I was so hesitant of posting more on social media. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that because I don't think that I can grow it. It was like, if I do grow this, I'm going to lose a little bit of the freedom and the independency that no one knows I have.
Yes, and it's sad that we have that fear. It's so sad, but that was the reason why I did. And I was like, nobody's going to support me. Nobody's going to support me. I don't want to know. I don't want nobody to know. Just let them think that the old owner still has this. And then, but then, you know what? I said, whoever's going to support me is going to support me. And you know what? I have somebody that I know who is, and that's the good Lord. He got me. And I know even when I think it's not going to work, He got me. And it's going to be if faith, and some things that have happened in my life that I know it was nothing but God. And that's what changed my perspective on the way I guide my life right now, is I know God has me. So when it looks like, how did that happen? I don't even worry about it, because I know it was nothing but God. Yeah. I can't write it down. I can't give you the formula for it, because I know it was nothing but the good Lord. So now that I'm being led that way, I don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't.
It reminds me of, like, I don't know if you remember the story when Jesus is sleeping on the boat and the disciples are freaking out.
Yes.
They're going down. We're drowning. We're about to.
Yes.
Don't you care?
But isn't it a good feeling now when you are led that way? You don't even worry about it, because when you think, and you seem to be that person that when you come up with these ideas and you're throwing them off at people and they're looking at you like, I don't know. But then you're like, okay, I know I might not see it, but that faith that's in you, and does it feel so good that faith that you have in God, that this is going to work? I believe it, because God brought it to you, and you have that faith, and it's such a good feeling when it goes over, because you believe in God so much that it's going to happen. And I trust Him, because my father died of cancer.
Wow.
My grandmother, my aunt, They all died of cancer.
Was it the same cancer?
It was a different form.
Different form.
And the unique thing about the cancer I had, it was found in Caucasian young boys. And the doctors told me I was stage 4.
So you were rare.
It was rare. They had to bring a special team together. And so when I got on a Zoom call to tell my family that I had it, everybody looked at me like, well, she's got, they already just start crying like they knew I was going to die. But my sons, I told them, the doctors told them first, and then I told them, and I said, y'all already know. They said, yes, ma'am, the doctors told them. And I said, well, what are y'all feeling about it? Because, I was just like, let's not treat it. They was like, no, you probably won't live as long as if we don't treat it. And my sons told me, Mama, you're the strongest person that we know, and you're going to beat this. And I said, oh, that's all I needed was that. And I said, okay. And one of my doctors said, I want to pray for you.
Yeah.
And he said, I want you to remember this. Your faith will heal you. If you carry that throughout this whole process, you will make it. And I pray to God, and I said, faith conquers everything. Conquers fear. It conquers everything. And so from therefore on, I live by my faith. And so it trumps everything. So all the things that's in my life that have occurred is through my faith in God. Philippians 4:13. Through everything, through him, I can conquer anything. Yeah. And that's why I know if God is with me, and I know it can be done. And so that's what I live by.
And what's so interesting you saying that, it's amazing when you have the confidence in your faith.
Yes.
That in itself is healing.
It's healing.
Because your outlook is not into yourself.
Exactly. And that's, every day when I think back the first night of chemo, I just knew that night I was going to die, because I was just like, oh my God, I lost my sight. I was in so much pain. I couldn't see. And I was in that room, and I remember a nurse, as I thought she was a nurse, she came to me and she said, stop crying. She said, because I can't nurse tears. And she said, it cannot be a testimony without a test. And I knew then that God was there. And so I knew then it was going to be really hard throughout this whole process, but I was going to make it through. And for that whole year, it was times that it was really hard, but I'm still here. I'm still here. So I knew it was my faith that carried me through. I never stopped believing that I was going to make it through. I never stopped believing. So, and there's so many things that have happened in my life, even throughout that process and since then. But it was my faith that I always knew God was going to bring me through, and he has. So even with your business, even with all the things that you're going through, your faith. Yeah. And it's such a good feeling when you know. When you know. When you know.
I can't describe it to people, like when you're in those stages.
Yes.
About when you have that much confidence in your faith. You can't describe it. You just know you're okay.
Yes. When you know. Now,
it doesn't mean it doesn't suck.
Yeah. Oh, it's hard. Oh my God. See, yeah, it's so hard. I was telling my son, I said, it's hard out here for a pimp. I just told him today. I took him a picture of my food. I was eating avocado. I was like, it's hard. He said, oh, it looks good. I was like, it's hard out here for a pimp. I don't like this, but I got to eat it. It's hard out here for a pimp. It's hard. It's not going to be easy. I promise you, it's not going to be easy at all. It's not. But when you know, you know.
Now, how long did you lose your sight for?
I started out in 2020. My eye bulged out. My skin burned from the radiation. That whole year, probably after 6 months, I started gaining my sight back. Wow. You were a blur. That's what I could not see. It was so funny when I took those glasses and dumped them back at the eye doctor. She was like, wow, your vision. I said, I can see now. I
Oh
couldn't
my
see.
gosh.
I couldn't see. I lost all my hair. My face was burned. I was getting constant ear infections because I couldn't. The doctor said that it messed up my eardrum and things. So I was like the head ears of a baby. So I constantly get ear infections. But when I tell you all the things that my body went through, I'm so grateful. People ask me about my tag on my car. It has "but now," and people ask, "What's the significance of it?" I say, "If you knew everything that I went through," I say, "But now." But now, not being able to see, having to be rolled in, and all losing my hair, my face being burned, and even my whole journey from my weight loss and everything, I say, but now.
Yeah.
But now. I'm just so grateful. Just so grateful.
I had the last podcast I did with a guy. He had cancer at 28, and they found it in his spinal cord. And we just it should launch this week. And he had very similar symptoms that you had, but he just lost function of his body.
Yep.
So after they went in and took the mass out and it was successful, he went from a guy who's super active, super fit,
Yep.
to the only thing he could do was blink and open his mouth.
Yep.
Couldn't move his limbs, couldn't do, and it's just a slow process. And it's incredible to see him grow.
It was really hard because I had to be away from my family. Well, most people could go to get chemo that day, go back home. I had to basically live in the hospital.
That's exactly what he said. The battle's there.
Yes.
The mental fatigue.
Yes. And, they basically became my family because I couldn't, because of COVID, nobody could come see me, visit me. Yeah, nobody could come see me. And actually, one time I got sick and my doctor basically was like, if I leave you in the hospital, you probably would die because COVID was so rampant. If it had attacked my body, I would have died because I was so weak, I couldn't fight it off. And so they kind of just put me in like a holding room because I couldn't be near other patients. And it was just like people beside me dying. And I was just like, Jesus. It was really, it was mentally affecting me. But again, I just said, and it was, people, I have no regrets because it gave me the opportunity to hear God. It gave me the opportunity to listen to him and to talk to him because I can be honest with you. Before that, I was not at a place in my life where that I was listening to God and communing with him. That time I did. I listened. It gave me an opportunity to call people and to talk to them and release things. Like I told you earlier, I did not have a relationship with my mom, and I got the opportunity to talk to her and to release some things. It gave me time to journal and write things down and even talk with my children, talk to people in my life that I had issues with, that I had, and to release things and to think about some things with myself, and just because I had nothing to do. I was there, so my body reeked in so much pain. I just had to lay in bed. And so that time God talked to me, and me praying and listening, hearing his voice and releasing things that I needed to do, and me becoming a different person and transitioning to somebody different than I was before going through that. And I'm so grateful for that, and walking out of that and understanding the true purpose of it, because I had to transition and heal into a different person. So I don't regret it at all. So I understand the true meaning of it being molded into a different person. I understand it, because then I understand his purpose for me going through that, to be able to share it. So that's why I don't hold back on talking about it, to understand. I understand the purpose of him keeping me here, because there's so many people that went through that are not here today. So I know that he kept me here to be a vessel to share it with other people, to be able to be there for other people in so many capacities. So that's why I still try to help people in whatever way I can.
Yeah. Now, you didn't have a really good relationship with your mom?
No, my mom, we did not have
a lot of people have mother hurt. They talk about dad issues, but talk about so that way.
And it was such a blessing to be able to talk to her during that time, and being able to talk to her and we talk about things that happened where she wasn't involved, and being able to get close to her, because a year later after I went into remission, my mom died. So it was right. So it was so good to be able to release the things and be able to strengthen our bond. And if I had not had done that, I would have been, that would have happened. I still would have been heavy on my heart with things with her. So being able to talk to her and to release some things that we had, and being able to strengthen our bond. And a year later, she died. So I'm just thank God that he, put it on my heart to do that and to be able to talk and release things and us to get closer. Yes.
So now what happened between you and your mom? Like,
it was my father was in the military and he lost his hearing.
Oh, wow.
And so my parents got divorced when I was little. And it was just mainly because I think she just couldn't handle just having 4 kids and then dealing with him losing his hearing and dealing with all of that. So it's just that they just divorced, and so he got custody of us versus my mom.
Oh, wow.
And so
that's rare back in the day.
Yes, and they were young, and what I explained to her, I don't need to even know your why, because I don't even know how I probably would have been able to handle that. And I said, but because of her why, I just developed bitterness because I just wanted my mom, and because I didn't have her.
How old were you that?
When they first, I was like 5. I was young.
You were young.
I was young, and so I just was bitter because I just didn't have my mom, and so over years, just not processing it, just not processing it, and finally releasing it, thinking that we did talk. I didn't start talking to her till I was 19. Because I was just angry and bitter about it and resentful. And so finally releasing it, and she expressed to me, she reached out. I just refused it because I was bitter. Yeah. And so, finally admitting that, telling her I love her, and she told me every day she loved me. And I apologized, and she even said, no. And I told her, I said, but I shouldn't have judged you, and I was wrong. And I told her, and I loved her. And to be able to release that, and definitely before she passed, and I thank God for giving me that opportunity.
You ain't kidding.
I thank God for that. I miss her every day.
Now,
I do.
What was the why? Did you ever dive into that, or do you guys just kind of escape it over?
She just went into, it was just a lot going on.
So there's multiple things she was struggling with.
Yes. Yeah. So, but I thank God for her. She was a loving person to so many people, and I feel that part of her, I think she gave that to me because so many people loved her, and she showed love to a lot of people. I just did not open up because I was bitter. Yeah. And I was.
Now, was she in Oxford? Born and raised in Oxford too?
Yes, she was.
Wow. Mm-hmm. You guys have seen Oxford change.
Yes, we have. Yes. So, but I'm glad that I did get time to spend with her before she passed. I did.
So I've just going through cancer now and being in remission. What are some of the key takeaway points away from you that you're like, other people who are going through cancer? I have a client right now that's going through chemo. What are some things that you would encourage them to do? One, I think you hit on the head, is don't be in isolation. Right?
Yes.
As much as you can.
Because I tell a lot of people, love kills cancer. I feel that it was a lot, because I was there for my aunt and my dad when they were going through that. I was there not knowing that I had no signs that I was going to be diagnosed with that. But I was there taking my aunt, my dad to chemo treatment, everything. But I knew nothing about this disease, nothing about this. But I was there for them. But it was so many things that I knew going through my process that I wish I had known, that I think maybe they probably could have been alive if I had known. My children was there for me, very supportive. They're, helping me, and we, eating correctly, natural foods, and, feeding, strengthening me, pushing and fighting. I wish that it was a lot of things I would have known more that I could have helped them. But it was such I did not know. I think, to be honest, having that same mindset that, okay, they got cancer, they're going to die, And so changing the mindset of knowing that it's not one of those things that you can live, and going in knowing that love and showing strength that you can beat this, and just walking in with that mindset, it can be done. And that's what I've tried to encourage, and with faith, and knowing that if you go in with that mindset, you can beat this thing. And that's what we did. And having that support, you have to have a good support system, and that matters. And being educated, because even though we had the support system on, and my family was there for me, even with me getting my right nutrients, even exercising. They were getting me up every day, not just laying around, making sure I was getting the right food. All of those things were so important. So I think just being educated and making sure you're going through this. A lot of times people don't do that, because they just assuming, okay, you got this, you're not going to be able to beat it. And so I think getting in the right knowledge and having a good support system.
And it's crazy too that you say that, because me and the other client that I'm working with, who has cancer right now, and going through chemo, and she'll just text me like, hey, I feel so much better since you came over, because what we'll do is we'll go work out in her pool. And so she knocks out a workout 30 to 45 minutes depending on how she feels. And if she doesn't feel good that day and she's tired, she rests.
Yes.
But when she has energy, we capitalize on it.
Yes.
And it's helped her out so much.
Yes. Because it was so many days I just wanted to lay in the bed.
Yep.
And my son was like, Mama, no. And he even sent me something about that. Laying in the bed, not moving, causes depression. Oh, yeah. And he said, because your serotonin does not move if you don't move.
That's right.
And these things I didn't know. These are, and to be honest, with not just in our community of Black people, a lot of these things we don't know. Yeah. And I, so he was like, and I thought about it, the days I just laid in the bed just made me feel worse. Because I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know these things. So he was like, Mama, come on. Move. You got to move. You got to move. You got to get up. You got to exercise. Move your legs. You got to eat. We got to feed this. And giving me motivational things to read. And, even the days I didn't feel like reading to me, so I could hear the word going into me, praying with me. So all of having that support system, getting the right nutrients, cooking food for me, feeding it to me, making sure I'm getting my strength, my energy, those things help me. Knowing that I was loved and people was rooting for me, it helped me, it pushed me. Even, and it was so funny, my team of nurses, every day they call me a fashion model. They was like, hey, here come photo shoot, because every day I dressed up. Every day, because my granny always told me, if you look better, you feel better. So every day when they would get me dressed, I would dress up. And then one of the nurses made me a box full of little head scarves. So I would wear these boxes of head scarves, a new one every day. So I would just go in every day being the prettiest person I could be. But it made me feel so much better. It did. So just little things like that, it helped me fight and push forward. It helped me.
And what's crazy too that you say that, and this is what my friend Josh said in the last podcast, in a general sense of like, once you go through that traumatic of experience of radiation, you realize how important sleep, food, and exercise is. Yes. That you knew that you should be doing it. Yes. But it's like, now it's like tenfold. You're like, whoa. No, I know why. Why? Because it makes a difference. When you're sick, you can feel it even worse.
Yes. Was
that your experience too?
It was. It was definitely that, because I had this little mobile little bike that I was in there. Even though I couldn't get out of bed, but it was on the side of the bed. I'm moving my legs. I had to move because the cancer was, the medicine that I had to take, it made my bones hurt.
And that's exactly what the last client
made my bones, even to my skull. Wow. It just made everything hurt. So moving helped. So I had to move. So that's how important it was. I was just telling my son that I want this lifestyle change to be so that it's like when you get up in the morning, the first thing you want to do is to brush your teeth. I wanted it to be just that common for me that I know I'm not going to leave out of the house without brushing my teeth first. So I want this to be a part of my daily, that I want to eat right and work out, where it's just like brushing my teeth. I don't want to think about it. It has to be done. I want to put mouthwash in my mouth and brush my teeth. So I got to exercise and eat right. It's just that common. I want it to be that common. That I don't even want to think about it. It's just part of my life.
Yep.
That's how I want to be. I don't even want to think about it. This is just what I got to do. When I decided to be a vegetarian 8 years ago, now I don't even think about it. I don't think about if I see some meat. It doesn't come to me like, oh, I want that. I don't even think about it. That's not part of me.
Yeah.
I don't drink a soda, a Coke. It doesn't faze me. I don't want a Coke. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that. Oh, I got to walk today. I don't want to do it. I just like, oh, I'm going walking. It's just, no, I want it to be normal. I got to brush my teeth. I got to chunk the mouthwash. I want stinky breath. So I just want it to be that regular now. That's how I want to be. I want to live. When they told me all those years ago, and I was like, well, how do I got to live? He's like, you got to lose half your body weight. I was 329 pounds.
Wow.
I'm 20 pounds down from losing half of my body weight.
Holy
I wanted it to be that. I want that goal. I'm still working toward it. So
yeah, and you showed us the before and after pictures, which are incredible.
Yeah. So it's just it's a lifestyle change. I want to live. I have a grandbaby that's a year old. So I want to be here. I want to continue to be here. So I'm keep pushing. And I know God, it's so many people that are out there struggling with weight, dealing with cancer. I know he left me here to, hey, he wants to get the glory. So he wants me to be here to show people that he is real.
Yep.
He's real, because I wouldn't still be here.
Mm-hmm.
The doctors told me, it was 10 of them sitting there. It's like, we have no guarantees. We don't know how to treat this. We've never seen a person like you that's dealing. When I go to the doctors, they come in and peeping at me. It's like, hey, it's like, we just want to look at you. You don't look like what you went through. We just want to, they smile and they're looking at me. It's like, wow, we don't believe it.
Now, how did you find out your new cancer? Like, what happened?
Well, I have been having chronic migraines forever, just forever. I mean, they have been treating me. It was like, well, you're just a chronic migraine. They're just filling me up with pain meds around here, just chronic migraines. And back in 2018, I had a car accident on Highway 7.
Yeah.
Didn't know I had the car accident. I get out of the car. I go to a person home. I didn't even know the people. I go to knock at their door. I say, hey, I'm having car trouble. Can I use your phone? And so I could call somebody. And he said, did you just get out of that car? I said, yes, sir. I'm having car problem. He said, you just got out of that car. He said, are you okay? I said, yes, sir. He's like, you sure you're okay? I said, yeah. And then I turned around. I see people running, pulling over. And they was like, who is the person that just got out of the car? And he said, I'm going to call the ENT because something is wrong with you. It was car parts of my car all over the highway. I had went up the hill, nosedived. My car totally crashed. I had a seizure.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
didn't even know it, didn't know what was going on. And he said, I'm going to call. He said, do you have somebody I can call? I said, you can call my son. My son said when he arrived inside my car, he knew I was dead. He said because people were everywhere. The people were so nice to me. It was like the ENT got there. My blood pressure was like 200 over there. I had a seizure. I didn't know it. I had wrecked the car. So still not conscious of what was going on. Only thing I remember in that car, somebody saying, do you need me to take this wheel? And I know, CJ, it was the Holy Spirit telling me, let me take this wheel. And they don't even know how I got out of the car. So I had walked to these people's houses and said, hey, I'm having car trouble, still not knowing what's going on. And so by the time they got to me in the hospital, they said I had a seizure and I had wrecked the car. For that whole year, they took my license. I couldn't drive for a year. After that year, I started having like clear liquid coming out of my nose. Like one side, I hold my head down, liquid. Like, if you have a snotty nose, liquid just coming out of my nose. And I was having those headaches again. I went to the ENT doctor here, Dr. Dye, and I said, Dr. Dye, I don't know what's going on. I said, people think I'm crazy. I'm having headaches, and they just thinking I'm coming for drugs, but my head is hurting all the time, and I'm having clear liquid come out of my nose. He said, no, you're not crazy. I know what's wrong with you. He said, I know. I'm going to send you to a fellow doctor of mine that's in Memphis. He's going to help you. He said, you have leaky brain. I said, what? Leaky brain? He said, yes, you have a hole in your brain, and that it's leaking from your membrane, your skull, and that liquid is coming out of your nose. So he sent me to the ENT, and they went up in my nose. They said, yeah, you have a hole in your brain, and we got to go in and seal it up. And that's why that liquid is, every time you hold your head down, it's coming
out.
And so they did, and they said that's why I was having the seizures, that's why I was having the headaches, and that's what was going on. And so 6 months after doing that, the headaches came back. So I went back to the ENT. I said, my head is still hurting, and it's hurting so bad. I was telling my son. My son said, Mom, I'm going to take you back up there. Let's go back to the ENT, go back to Dr. Sanjeet and tell him what's going on. And he said, well, maybe your sinuses is clogged back up. Let's go back in and see, maybe you're having sinus pressure. He said, but I'm going to take you into the hospital and let's check it out. And he said, we're going to put you to sleep and check it out. I wake up, 10 doctors standing over me. And I said, what's going on? He's like, we bumped into something in the road. I said, what do you mean? It was a tumor there. He said, I don't know what happened. It was not there when we went in and sealed you up. He was like, it's a tumor and it's cancerous. He says, behind your nasal passage, behind your eye. And he said, that's why your eye is starting to bulge. And like your eye, that's why your eye is swollen. And I thought it was just really your sinus, and it's cancer. I said, well, okay, we'll just leave it alone. Don't worry about it. He's like, he said, we can't do surgery because it would be terminal, and if we leave it alone, the damage it'll do to your body, oh my God. And he said, but we really don't know how to treat it. We're going to have to call somebody in for MD Anderson. We're going to bring a radiation doctor in from Canada. We have
Holy cow.
we got to bring the dentist team in from UT because it's going to do damage to your mouth, and we're going to have the eye, some people.
Holy cow.
So it's a team of people that treated me.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of specialists come in.
Yeah, and I said, well, I got to talk to my kids, because my kids were outside in the car because they couldn't come in because of COVID, and I didn't know they had already talked to my kids. And my kids was like, when I told them, they just sitting there, I said, y'all already know, don't you? They was like, yes, ma'am. I was like, well, what are we going to do? I was just like crying. They was like, that's when they was like, Mama, you're strong. You got this. You're stronger. We're going to do what we need to do. And they was like, well, you're going to have to move to Memphis because the Hope Center was shut down because of COVID. We couldn't move there. So I had to get a condo.
Wow.
And move to Memphis. And that's the whole year.
That is crazy how you found out.
Yes.
I did not know that.
And so, and this what they say, I could have had it a long time through all of those years of headaches, because they think it was a childhood disease that I had, and it never had been treated. And that's probably why I had been having headaches all of those years, and the seizures and all of those different things, because it had been there all along.
Wow.
And no, it never, because I had sinus surgery before and different things. They said they believe it had been in there a long time.
Now, do you have pictures of your car?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask you to send them so we can put it on the screen.
When they took me out to see the car, I just cried.
Wow.
Because I was like, oh my God. Because I went to get my things out of the car, and I was like, oh my God. It was like, yeah. Because I didn't know. I was not conscious of anything that had happened. I didn't even know it.
Now, what type of car were you driving?
A Kia Optima.
Okay, so a smaller.
It was a small car. I didn't have a clue. I didn't even know, but they said it was good that I didn't. Because if I had been conscious of it going on, the accident at the time, I would have panicked.
Yep. You would have oversteered.
And I would have oversteered, and and I went back to the people. I took the people's money and stuff back to them. They was like, "Why did you do?" I was like, "Cause y'all didn't have to help me." And the lady had a garden, and I tore her garden up because I went up to here. So I took them back money to thank them for helping me, because they were strangers, and I'm knocking at their door, and so I was so grateful for them helping me. It was so many people that pulled over and helped me, but they just felt like the person in that car had to be dead.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, so a whole year.
I'm guessing it was totaled, right?
Yeah, it was totaled.
Holy cow.
And so when I got the new car that I'm in now, I got it, then found out a year later I had cancer, so I couldn't drive that car.
Oh, my God. Oh, I love your car, too.
I couldn't drive. So people ask, like, what's the tag mean? But now. I was like, if you only knew. But now. But now. That's all. But now. So it's really just a blessing after all I've been through. It's like, but now. Just so, every time, but now. So I'm so grateful.
It's the craziest thing about cancer, what I've been noticing just talking with cancer patients and getting to work with more and more and more of how important nutrition and exercise is just in general.
Yes.
And support.
Support, CJ. Man. If I had not had that, my son, who was in the military, he told them he had to take a leave, and also he stepped away from school. He stepped away from school. My other son was in New York, and he left New York and came. So 6 months in, I told him, I was like, hey, y'all got to go. We're going to drive each other crazy. I said, I'll get home health. I said, plus, I don't want y'all to put your lives on hold, because they moved in and stayed there with me. I said, they was like, Mama, no, we don't want to leave. I was like, no, you go finish school and you go back to New York. I said, I can get home health. And it's so funny. My aunt, who had cancer, before she died, she was like, hey, you need to get a cancer policy. I was like, for what? I don't need a cancer policy. And the job that I worked at housing here, and they had a cancer policy. It was just like $12 a month. And when I left there, I said, well, I'll just keep paying it. They was like, do you want to keep this policy? I was like, yeah, I'll keep it. No big deal. And I'm glad I listened to my aunt, because that cancer policy took care of everything. So I also tell people, get a cancer policy, because it's not the same as insurance. That cancer policy took care of my rent at that condo.
Wow.
It took care of my travel back and forth to the doctors. It took care of my home health. It reimbursed me for all of the testing. And every night I spent in that hospital, this was not things that went to the hospital. These were monetary things that came straight to me. A $12 policy that I paid every month that specifically reimbursed me for my costs. So it paid that rent, not just for the rent for the condo, the lights and everything.
Oh, wow. So utilities and everything.
Everything. So I encourage people, I tell my clients to get you a cancer policy. I never knew that I was going to have cancer.
Now, where do you get it at?
I got mine through Colonial Insurance.
Okay.
And I still have it. And I tell people, those policies are not expensive. You can get them through Aflac, Colonial. You just do it. Pay the money, because I never knew that was going to happen, a $12 policy, and it ended up taking care of everything. For me. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I thank God for having it, because I had health insurance, but it did not take care of the things that policy. These were reimbursed things that came straight in cash to me to take care of everything. Even for when I got somebody to help me at my house there, I actually got a home health nurse to come there. They paid her.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, so it was right, everything was taken care of. So I thank God for that.
It's so interesting, too. It's like when people are finding out they have cancer, it's like an extreme event that triggers it.
Yes.
Like the car accident. And my friend Josh, when he said, he was like, he walked in the hospital and was like, I can't feel my face.
Yes.
Something is wrong. And they're like, oh, he's like, no, you don't understand. I can't feel half my body. Something is wrong.
Yeah. And if I had never known going through all of that stuff, I would have never known, because it was so funny when I was because I used to go to Jamaica like every year for my birthday. And I was getting ready to go to Jamaica, and the doctor's office like, hey, we need you to come in. I said, well, y'all gonna have to wait. I'm getting ready to go to Jamaica. They was like, if you leave going to Jamaica, you're not going to make it back. Whoa. That's what they told me. They said, because with that leaky brain, my skull was open and it was exposed to everything. Thanks. And as I thought back, it was several times I went to Jamaica and I got sick as a dog.
Oh, wow.
And the healthcare there is
horrible. Yeah.
And I would go over there to the doctor, and it'd be people like in the room next to me, dead bodies. I was like, but I was getting sick over there, but not knowing why. And also, I wasn't supposed to be getting on a plane because the elevation. And I'm not knowing all this time, but I'm still trekking over there to Jamaica, having a good time. But they told me, if you get on that plane, you're not going to make it back. And I was like, huh? And that's when they found out, you got leaky brain. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, well, okay, no more. I couldn't travel anymore. It was like years I had not been. I was one of those people that traveled every 3 months. I was like going over there, just hanging out, traveling everywhere. No more traveling like that.
Man. And what's crazy too is, what all the cancer patients I've talked to, they say the same thing about flying. Mm-hmm. It exhausts you and you get sick.
Yes. Every time I was traveling, I was getting sick, not knowing all of this. I was just something going on with my body. Did not know that all of this was going on. I was getting sick. Just exposing myself, getting the elevation, then going to these foreign islands and all of this, and did not know.
It's a whole new environment.
Yes, the whole new environment. Did not know. Yeah.
So now, what are your fitness goals now? Like, what do you want to go after since you're in remission and you're in a good spot?
And the thing now is, as you stated earlier, it's even more important. And I told this to my son just the other day. I don't want to go 10 steps back, because if I go back, it's going to be even harder. So I'm even more focused. To me, it's harder, but I feel like if I digress back, it's even harder to get back. So I'm even working even harder, trying to just get a regular routine far as exercising, and I just want to feel naturally good. Yeah. So my goal now is just to get it at a level where I'm just feeling good, feeling healthy, and I feel that my body, my mindset would feel good. So that's what I'm aiming for. I'm not aiming like, hey, I want to be a certain way. No, that's not my goal. My goal is I just want to be feeling good and feeling healthy, and that's what I'm working toward. I feel like if I'm consistently exercising, consistently eating, and I was listening to someone the other day about that what you need to know, be conscious of not about your weight loss in the scale, be conscious about your numbers and the things that you're taking in that's making you feel good, and that's where I'm at now. What is your exercise routine? And it doesn't have to be 4 or 5 days a week. It could be 2-3 days, but what is your routine that's making you feel good? And that's where I'm at now, trying to work on.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Because I think if you're focusing on the scale and things, that still is not going to make you feel healthy. If you figure out what is making you feel good and healthy, and that's where I'm at now. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out. So that's why I'm like, hey, and I thought about that, and this week, that's been my goal. When I'm looking at my plate and looking at being more conscious of my numbers, being more conscious of my water intake, and coming in here, and I was like, wow, it's hard to get out of the bed now. I'm feeling better, and it's hard to say, hey, I feel like I need to go walking. Last night when I was watching the convention, I was on the floor doing sit-ups and had my weights and listening to it. So I was like, okay, Teresa didn't used to do this, but it didn't feel forceful doing it. It felt like this is something I wanted to do, and it was natural, and I felt really good about that. I'm at that place now. I felt really good about that.
That is such a good place to be, because you understand it, and that's such a keynote that you said. Take note to what makes you feel good.
Yes. And I ate my dinner, and then I got in there and I was like, okay, I'm watching Michelle Obama. I was like, do something. Hey, do something. And I was like, I'm going to get a t-shirt with that on. Do something. Do something. So I felt good about that. I like that. Awesome. I said, I like that. That's going to be my motto. Do something. And when she was talking, I was like, yes, you're right. Do something. So, yeah.
All right. So this is the last question, and then we'll close.
Okay.
If you have one thing to say to somebody who is being hesitant of potentially doing some type of exercise program and taking their nutrition seriously, what would you say to them?
Something I wished I could have said to myself. So when I go back and look at that picture of myself before I had that first seizure, because I thought even that person, I was just the most beautiful person still.
Yeah.
But, not knowing the damage that I was doing to my body. And I guess I could say what I just said, do something. Because the impact that it has on you in the long run is not worth it. Yeah. It's until I start doing something, that's when I realized that I can increase my life. Because I shortened my life. And I never forget when I went to the doctor and Dr. Evans told me if I kept living the lifestyle that I was living, the way I was eating, I was not exercising, that I was going to die. Yeah. And so in order, if they are hesitant, in order for them to live longer, they got to do something. Whether that means you eat correctly. If you don't want to exercise, okay, I tell people all the time, if you don't want to exercise, you hate it, well, you got to change your eating habits. You got to do something, one or the other. Do something. Yep. And that's what I tell people. When people's like, well, how do you not eat meat? Well, I say, okay, I didn't want to exercise. I had to do something. I have to be extreme on one or the other. Yep. You got to do something. Yep. And that's where I had to start making changes. And still, you're going to have to do something if you want to live. Yep. And I promise you, I had did damage to my body so much to now it has to be a lifestyle change for me to go back and change some of those things. And I've lost a lot of people I love because of some of the lifestyle things, eating wrong, smoking cigarettes, doing all kind of things, that diabetes, cancer. If they had made some changes with the way that it was living a life. So I'm learning to try to save my life and to live longer.
And it's so important that you say that. As you grow on your health journey, you're going to lose people that you least expected.
Yes. So in order to try to change that trajectory of it, you got to try to do something.
Yeah.
And
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that comes with an emotional cost.
Yes.
Like you're going to lose some of the support you thought you had.
Oh, CJ, and it was so hard on me because I'm talking to God about it. It's like, what did I do? Why I'm losing people? And people say hurtful things. Oh, you look so sick. You're losing all this weight. Why are you doing this? Or are you black because you don't eat meat? And different things, hurtful things. But I think back, nobody said anything to me when I was 329 pounds and was killing myself. Nobody encouraged me to do anything different. So I don't listen to those people now, because when I needed help then, nobody encouraged me to do anything different. So I try to tell people, when you start to try to make positive changes, please be aware that just as many people are going to be negative, because it makes them put a mirror to their face and see that they need to make some changes. Yep. So, and they're not going to accept it. So please be aware you're going to have some naysayers out there. So I don't let that, it's hurtful. It is, especially when it comes from people that you care about, but you just have to keep pushing, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But I remind myself, when you was crying out for help and needed help, nobody said anything. So now that I am at that place that I know I'm trying to make changes, I'm going to keep pushing.
Isn't it amazing too? This is what, just based off my own experience of what I did in my past, just some of the mistakes that I've had, is I would pour and invest in time with people who did not have my best interest at hand. And I still sometimes catch myself doing that, just because we want to do good. And then some of the people that actually want us the best, we actually ignored those people.
Yes.
I'm not in a sense that was intentional.
Yes.
But it's just, that's what happened.
It happens. And I was just thinking about that the other day, and I heard God just as clear, and he said, let me do my job. Because there's so many times we try to take over God's position. Yep. And that's just because we're good people, but we have to step back and let God be God. Because if we don't, some people will never see him. So we have to step back and let God be God. Because we're always like, well, God, well, why? I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to do it. He's like, I got it. Let me do it.
Yep.
Because just think about it. If people hadn't stepped back or we found out some things on our own, we would have never came into the revelation of some of the things that we need to do in our own life.
Yep.
We had to find out on our own. So we have to just step back and let people find out some things on our own. And I know for me, it was definitely hard because we just like, well, I don't want them to walk down that road because I've been down that road, but we had to find out on our own.
Yep.
And so we have to step back and just let God be God.
And that's so interesting that you say that too, just in a general sense, because it's relationships are more impactful, whether they're negative or they're positive.
Yes.
They're going to impact how you view the world.
Yes, that is so true.
And it's tough.
It is tough. I mean, I've been dealing with it, especially with this journey of trying to find myself and to be a better person. It's just, I get like, wow, as I'm trying to transition myself and get myself together, I'm like, all these naysayers are just coming at me. I'm like, wow, why? And I just realized, like, but they did it to Jesus. So who am I? Yeah. So now I'm getting it. I was like, okay, it's gonna come. It's gonna come.
It's like you have a God who came down in Jesus' form and he was perfect.
Yes.
And yet he got
it. So I was like, okay, who am I? So I see. But that is also what that tells us, we're on the right track.
That's right.
We're on the right track.
Yeah.
So we're good. We're on the right track.
If you're not getting any pushback and you're always very well liked by everyone. One of my mentors always told me, they lying somewhere.
They lying. So that's why I said, well, I must be on the right track then. I'm on the right track. Okay, I get it, God. I'm on the right track. I'm going to keep pushing. So, because I was like, you look sick. I was like, what?
And the crazy thing is, you look healthy. That's the crazy part.
Then had to convince me. He's like, Teresa, come on, Dad. It's like,
I've had multiple clients come up and tell me that. She's like, one guy came up to me. He's in his 60s and works out at a CrossFit gym. And he was really concerned because he's getting all this feedback from his peers, the people he's around all the time, because he is the healthiest one. And that's exactly what I said. Hey, so-and-so, you're getting sick. Yes. And he came up to me and said, hey, CJ, can you be honest with me for a second? I was like, what's going on? He was like, do you think I'm underweight? Like, I'm like, dude, you look great. Yes. You look fit. You look healthy, and they're the ones that are unhealthy.
That's what they do. And it really hurts when it's people that are so close to you.
Yes.
It hurts, CJ. I was like, I had to ask my son. He's like, Mama, don't you listen to that? And then I go back and look at my old pictures. I said, I'm not listening to that.
And the craziest thing is, too, I got the privilege to work with the guy who played in the NFL for almost 7 years. And he, born and raised in the projects, in Florida. And when he started making money and started doing well, the pushback he got from his own family and friends back in the projects where he grew up were the worst part. They wanted to drag him back down where he used to be instead of all the success he's had.
It happens. People do not want you to succeed because, again, it puts the mirror to their face.
Yep.
And it makes them like, okay, what have I done? What am I, I haven't done. I'm not where I want to be. So they want you to get down to them. So, yes.
I'm so glad you said that. Well, Teresa, it has been a privilege to get to know you even more. And thank you so much for sharing your story.
No, thank you. This has been awesome. Easy, as you said, easier than I thought it was going to be.
Awesome. All right. We'll see y'all.